What's up, people? Duncan here. How's it going, Patriots? I want to take a second. I want to talk about Trump's proposed late and full term abortion ban. If you watched the State of the Union, you heard what he you heard what he posted. You heard what he said at the State of the Union. He was he specifically stood up and talked about initiatives that would halt the late and full term abortions in this country. This was literally a slap to the face of Virginia's governor, of New York's new abortion law, and more so to the slap in the face of every other politician out there that is willing to allow basically legal murder. We're not talking about abortion in the first trimester or second, which, by the way, I don't agree with. The Democrats are taking it to a whole new level by suggesting and making it legal to have full term abortions or last second abortions. Now, they claim women's health. Let me ask you something. Has it not always been legal when a woman's health is in risk or a woman is dying during labor? Is it not always been legal to make a choice between mother and child? Has it not always been legal if the child is dead inside or stillbirthed to remove that child? See, this is the bullshit excuses that they're using to pass this murder law. They're suggesting that if a woman's health is at risk the day after a child is born, that child can be aborted. What? They're saying that if a woman's health is at risk during childbirth, that child can be aborted. Well, this is all a bunch of crap. All they're really doing is they're trying to come up with more and more ways to eliminate more and more people in this country. And our president stood up and said enough is enough. Not only do we not believe in abortion, but we strongly do not believe in any kind of law that will allow the murder of living humans or soon to be living humans. We cannot sit as a society, call ourselves humane while performing more abortions than any third world country in the world. We cannot call ourselves humane while we allow ourselves to legally murder any child, unborn or not. They'll come up with every excuse in the reason, every excuse in the book. They'll tell you, what if it's a medical excuse? And then I say, sure, give me a doctor and a second opinion. Show me documentation to prove that it's a medical issue. And then they'll say that it's their body and I shouldn't have to prove anything. Okay, then they'll say, what if the person was raped? And I say 7% of rape victims are only able to get pregnant and only 1% of them carry it full term. You're talking about a 0.01% population. As sad as it may be, the fact is that the vast majority do not go full term. So what are we really talking about? We're talking about the fact that 87% of abortions in this country are done by girls 16 to 21 years old who, quote, are not ready to have children. See, abortion in this country has turned into birth control. Abortion in this country has basically turned into the morning after pill. because parents don't teach their kids right from wrong anymore. They don't teach their kids that every choice has a consequence. You see, I tell everybody out there that I am, believe it or not, pro choice. I believe that a woman should have the choice whether or not to have sex. I believe that a man has that same choice. Now, the funny thing is, every choice has a consequence. The consequence of that choice is pregnancy. That's where I believe you can't just go eliminating the consequences of your choices. We can't just go teaching our kids that the choices they make have no consequences in the long run. Are we, as parents, as adults, going to set the example that it's okay to come up with ways to get out of the consequences for our bad choices? Are we going to allow our children to grow up thinking it's okay because their choices have no consequences? You see, that's really what we're talking about. And so the more I hear the idea that abortion is a woman's choice or a choice based on a woman's body, all I can think about is the woman made her choice when she decided to have sex. Why does nobody talk about that? Why does nobody consider it consensual up until pregnancy? And then once there's pregnancy, it's a woman's choice. You see, the new New York law is abomination to the American judicial system. It's an outcry. It's absurd to think that there's any kind of court that would allow the murder of an infant right before its birth. It's amazing that any human in this country, in this world, thinks it's all right to go out and dispose of, get rid of, or kill an innocent child that can't even defend itself. It's amazing how many so-called politicians represent people even though they're so far off base. If anybody did a statistic number, you'd realize that more and more people are realizing that abortion itself is wrong. And I haven't even got into my own views of it. Personally, I think Roe versus Wade should have never been passed. I don't even think it's constitutional. But somehow it did. I think it violates three core principles of our Constitution. I think it violates taxation without representation, since the government created WIC 6 months before Roe versus Wade. And WIC specifically said proof of life as a prerequisite or a positive pregnancy test. You see, they set the standards. And then 6 months later, they said those same unborn children with proof of life don't qualify for due process. Tax dollars go into feeding unborn children that don't qualify for life. What is it? Do they qualify for food stamps or do they qualify for life, or what is it? Why is it they qualify for one and not the other? There's your biggest fundamental problem. Your second is your gender discrimination. Because I'm sorry, no matter how you try to feed it to me, woman's choice is a violation of gender discrimination, since man has no choice. There's no equality there. What happened to in the 60s? Women fought for equality. And in 1973, the Supreme Court granted them sole choice. How? How is it that in a time of equality, in a time where people were fighting for not only their gender rights, but their race rights, the men in this country had their rights removed and nobody said anything? And then you get into the fact that the government paid a woman like Margaret Sanger to create Planned Parenthood and to send a clinic in every corner of every ghetto in America. Margaret Sanger, a really famous woman, she spoke many, many times at KKK rallies about eradicating minority populations through birth control and abortion. So our own government gave a known racist who was set on destroying and eliminating minority groups a ton of money to create clinics to do just that. You see, if any rational or reasonable person was to look at these three facts and place them in front of any courtroom in America, they'd simply see that Roe versus Wade should have never passed. It was unconstitutional. So every bit of these late full terms, every bit of these last seconds, every bit of this abortion talk is mute because it should have never passed to begin with. So that's my rant today. We can't allow states, people, politicians, representatives to tell us it's okay to go out and murder innocent children. We cannot be a society based on humanity and humanitarian efforts while we lead the world in aborted babies. This is an hypocrisy to America. It has to stop. We have to unite together. We have to join together, and we have to put an end to this. And yes, I blame both sides. I blame the Democrats for wanting it. I blame the Republicans for doing nothing to stop it. So yes, I blame both sides. We, as Americans, need to step up. We, as Americans, need to demand our rights. We need massive protests to the likes of Martin Luther King. Massive protests so that we can ensure that this government still runs by us, the people, for the people, and by the people. And that's the problem we have, because it's not. And until it is, we will continue to suffer as a nation. And it all starts with our rights being took from us blindly, our people being subverted into just handing them away, our youth being brainwashed to think somehow America is some awful place, and the rights that they should cherish are somehow condemning the whole world. We, as the last line of defense, we need to stand up. We need to bring reason and ration back to this nation. And ending abortion is one of the ways to do it. Ending abortion is one way to bring common sense back to America and back to Americans, because it's going way too far off the grid. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and get off of here. I hope you guys all have a good day. And I hope we can change this shit quick. Too many babies are being murdered by our own people. So, God bless y'all. Stay involved, get involved, and all that good stuff. Peace. Knocking out.